What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today I want to take a few minutes and kind of discuss why I think Benchmade gets a ton of hate within the knife community, at least the hardcore knife community, and discuss whether or not it's deserved. And ultimately, I'll let you decide whether or not you think it's deserved and whether or not you want to support or not support Benchmade, but I'm kind of going to try and present some of the commonly cited reasons for why people hate on Benchmade, at least again within the hardcore knife community. Benchmade has always been a super popular knife brand, no matter what a lot of people say. They're sold in all kinds of major retailers throughout the country, and you know they're pretty decent knives. I'm not going to deny that they're a decently made knife, but a lot of times people cite a lot of different things and say this is why you should or shouldn't buy Benchmades, and kind of just why they seem to be again attracting all the attention for what the knife community directs its hate towards. So kind of start with some rebuttals of the commonly discussed things with Benchmade. I know everybody says they're expensive, but lots of knives are expensive. Spydercos are expensive. Microtechs are expensive. Lots of people buy expensive knives. Lots of people way overpay for knives. I am no innocent person when it comes to that. I definitely spend a lot of money on knives, and oftentimes I pay a lot more money than I should. These things are really not worth, again, this is a piece of plastic with scales, not just because it's Benchmade, but again, piece of plastic screwed together with a little bit of steel in between. So whether or not that is Benchmade, it's overpriced. That's just kind of a fact of reality when you're dealing with knives and pocket knives and stuff. So kind of have to acknowledge that at first. A lot of people also say Benchmade's break. The springs break, all the stuff breaks and stuff. I had my shootout, just got back from the factory. This is the first video I've made since it's come back from the factory, and it just broke. But you could say all tools break, all kinds of stuff breaks. I've had screwdrivers break the tip off. I've had Leatherman's break. I've had, lawnmowers and all kinds of other tools and stuff that you use things for break. So again, not necessarily a reason to start hating on a brand, but that is often cited a lot. Not every knife is going to be perfect when you get it from the factory. No knife company in history has only released perfect knives from the factory. There's always going to be one or two things that might be wrong with a knife. Chances are, after you spend a lot of time and money buying knives, you will get one that is not perfect from the factory. And oftentimes, a lot of times, you will actually find yourself not getting a perfect knife from the factory. So that's not unique to Benchmade. A lot of people talk about Benchmade's declining quality control, but not necessarily unique to Benchmade. There are plenty of other companies that have issues with quality control. I'm not gonna put tactile knives on the spot here, but I got this brand new tactile Behar, is what I've learned it to be pronounced, Bear or Behar, over the weekend, and it came super dull from the factory. So not ideal. I didn't pay $200 for it, but $200 knife. So great knife, not bashing tactile at all, but didn't come that sharp from the factory. So all kinds of brands have problems with quality control and stuff. That's just, it is what it is. Benchmade also has a really, really strong customer service wing. They're kind of known for their customer service. And so that's a lot of times people will tout that when defending Benchmade, or the people that love Benchmade, diehards love Benchmade, will say, their customer service is unmatched. And honestly, they really do have customer service. I've never had a poor experience with their customer service. I've interacted with their customer service more so than any other knife company. And, I've never had a poor experience. Again, I got this shootout back from the factory and it's in working condition. Came back relatively quick. No issues at all with that. I have shipped things back to them, I think probably 4 or 5 times at this point, and that's been multiple knives in an order, and they've all come back, no issues, no questions asked, and they've been fine. So there's that. But again, plenty of other companies have great quality control, great customer service. So Benchmade does excel in that, but there are other companies that do as well. And finally, another big thing that people will say when defending the prices and customer service and other things with Benchmade, they'll say that, oh, well, Benchmade's 100% made in the USA. So that's going to raise the cost of materials. That's going to make things more expensive. It's going to make labor more expensive and other things. So that's what you're paying for. And I think that's great. I am a huge advocate for American-made knives. Pretty much every knife that I own, I'm not going to say every knife, but the vast majority of knives that I own are American-made knives. All kinds of knives made in the USA. I have a bunch just sitting right here. all over the place. All these are made in the USA. Most of my collection is made in the USA. That's primarily what I look for when buying a knife. And so, I appreciate that Benchmade is still made in the USA. But now we're going to kind of pivot and talk about, I'm going to refute a lot of those points and explain why I think, again, Benchmade gets a lot of hate, and maybe make the case a little bit for why it's deserved. Maybe not. I'll let you, again, decide in the end what you want to think. So the prices is the first thing we'll address. Again, when it comes to Benchmade, that is the first thing that everybody who just destroys Benchmade talks about, is they have ridiculous prices. And I'm going to prove to you why that is true. So here we have the Benchmade bug out. This particular model is $162, but most of them are $180. So we'll just call it $180 because every other model other than this is $180 or above. And you'll say, again, it's American made, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive. However, that being said, $180 knife, you have, just in terms of materials, you have plastic scales, so pennies to make in terms of scales. I don't think this is titanium hardware. I think it's just normal screws that I don't know if they make them or what. And you have S30V steel. So not a bad steel. It's heat treated very well. So you have that going for it, but it's not, the latest, most high-speed steel. It's not MagnaCut, it's not M390, it's not any of those M4 super cool, new, appealing steels. So $180 for that base model. Same thing here with the Redoubt, plastic D2 steel. So even more outdated than S30V. So we have that. Now that we've established that, that's what you're paying for with Benchmade. I have a buck knife here, also made in the USA, that has slightly upgraded steel. It's got S45VN steel that's also heat treated phenomenally and has beautiful marble carbon fiber handles. And these frequently go on sale for $140. So I think the base price is the same as the bug out, $180. So you're getting carbon fiber and a little bit better steel, just in terms of labor. But also when it comes to quality, the heat treat of Buck is just on par with Benchmade as well. Buck does an amazing job with their heat treat. They don't get enough credit for that. But again, you're getting similar quality and way better materials. So the cost of materials is significantly higher to make this Buck knife than Benchmade. Another example, we have the Hogue Deca, which is oftentimes, which I don't have, but that's oftentimes compared to the bug out. That also has plastic scales, but it has MagnaCut steel. And I think, again, I talk a lot about heat treat and how steel doesn't really matter. So I'm not going to say, oh, MagnaCut is automatically better than S30V. Some people will say that. I'm not going to say that. The Hogue Deca, however, released with very poor heat treat on their MagnaCut, as illustrated by other different guys on YouTube that would test it and show that you can break the tip off and it was really soft and stuff. But they have corrected that now. So they're running their MagnaCut a little bit harder, and they've corrected that problem, and that's not really an issue anymore. So you're getting properly heat treated MagnaCut, so it is better than S30V, and you're also getting plastic scales. And the Hogue Deca, as of today, at I believe Freedom Knife Shop, which is a great place to shop for knives, went on sale for $100. So for almost half the price and the same plastic scales and a better steel that is heat treated just as well, is going to be almost half the cost at $100. Same as this. You're getting D2 steel and plastic scales for $80 more, almost double the cost. So why is that? Another example, the Benchmade Shootout or Infidel. The Infidel is actually probably a better example. I don't have an Infidel, but we'll use the Infidel as an example. The Infidel is aluminum scaled, so it's got aluminum scales and D2 steel, and it's an out the front knife. So automatic knives are always going to be more expensive. However, the Infidel is $495. $495 for aluminum scales and a D2 handle. Microtech Ultratech, which is just as heavy duty, just as durable, similar in size, maybe it's a little bit smaller, it's not as fat, but similar in size, been produced just as long, M390 steel, and it is $200 cheaper. It's $300. So why is that? There's really no excuse for that. You're not paying for the materials, you're paying, again, you're not paying for the quality. The quality's not that different. You're not paying for the customer service because, again, Buck Buck and Microtech have lifetime warranties. If anything goes wrong, they'll fix it for you. Hogue has a lifetime warranty. If anything goes wrong, they'll fix it for you. So the only real difference is Benchmade has that free Life Sharp sharpening. And so you're paying, I guess, double the cost in order to have to pay shipping back to have someone sharpen it for you, instead of just buying a cheap sharpener and taking 20 minutes and learning how to sharpen. So that is why people get really frustrated with Benchmade's pricing. And again, the rebuttal to that will be, oh yeah, lots of companies have expensive knives. Spyderco's raising their prices, yada, yada, yada. But again, there really is just no reason to be charging that, as I've just outlined. I think the most flagrant example, again, is the Benchmade Infidel, which is almost $200 more expensive than an Ultratech. Shootout, I think these retail for the same as the Ultratech, and it's plastic versus aluminum, and this broke in a couple months. So it's not, you can't tell me the quality's better, and it's the same price. Now, this does have crew wear steel, so this is a little bit more, we'll call it more reasonably priced, but it's still ridiculous. But I'll kind of give them, I guess, a little bit of credit for not making it absurdly more overpriced. But again, it's plastic. It's just plastic. You're not paying for materials. You're certainly not paying for the quality in terms of that, because mine broke. So it is what it is. That we'll be done with the prices for now. Now we'll move on to tools breaking. Tools break. You use them, they break. But I've never had any of my other knives. I've had other knives break. I'm not going to say that I've had problems with other knives, but there has not been a single brand where I consistently have as many problems as I do with Benchmade. I have, so we'll start with that. The Omega springs in here are, assuming they used to be very quality, and Benchmade built its name and reputation on the quality springs that last. And you have guys comment on this video and say, I've had my Omega springs for 20 years and I've never had to get them replaced. I've never had any problems with them. But I have this 940, this bug out. I had my other 940, all have springs break within a couple months of using them. And it's not like I was using them that much. Now, with the 940, I have admitted I played with that one a lot. So that probably wore on the springs more than, other ones. But I didn't really play with my bug out. I didn't play with the other 940. They just broke while I was using them. So very, very frustrating to, again, pay that kind of money for a knife and just have the parts fail within a couple months. Not even like, again, if it was like 10 years, I would totally understand. It's 10 years. They're not meant to, these little tiny springs in here probably are not going to last for 10 years, or so I would assume. But after a couple months, I mean, come on, you're paying, again, we just established you're paying these crazy prices for parts that are going to break and fail. And yes, you have the lifetime warranty that's going to replace them. I already know people are going to say, oh, just send it in for warranty. I don't want to pay $15 to ship my knife all the way across the country, wait 3 or 4 weeks to get it back, and then be worried about using it for a couple more months and then just have to do it again. It's like a subscription service you have to pay with Benchmade. Like I get so annoyed that everything is a subscription service now, and that's what it feels like when you're buying these knives. I don't want to overpay to take advantage of the warranty that I don't want to ever need. Like most other companies, you're not planning on having to use the warranty. Spyderco, I'm not paying more. I'm not paying a premium for the warranty thinking, oh yeah, my Spyderco spring is probably going to break in a couple months. So I'm going to have to make sure that I have a warranty with it that I can send it back into. Really, really frustrating when it comes to that. So again, kind of frustrating, but people will say, yeah, tools break. So you make the decision there. I think my feelings about that one kind of came out of there. I kind of got annoyed about that. But next up, we have the kind of quality. I don't want to call it quality control, but we'll call it the brand listening to the consumers, or the brand recognizing problems. So Benchmade just released their new 710 with their new upgraded flat Omega springs. And that tells me, and that should tell all of you, that they know that there is a problem with these Omega springs, because why would they be releasing upgraded Omega springs that they've tested a million times to make sure that they don't break if they didn't know that these springs are constantly breaking? I don't know, but that's really, really frustrating that they know that there's a problem again and they don't really acknowledge it or fix it. They just release another knife for an obscene price and say, oh yeah, we fixed the problem, but you got to pay $400 to get the base model of this knife that allegedly the springs won't break. So that's really, really frustrating as well. And that's kind of, goes along with the customer service, I guess. Not really, but the brand listening to the consumer. Again, not every knife, that's kind of what I said before, not every knife is going to come from the factory perfect. There's no company that always release a perfect knife, but I have owned, I don't even know how many Benchmades, a lot of Benchmades, owned and sold and traded over the years, or over the months and years. And I would say I've probably got one perfect knife from them, at least from the factory. The tag down, and it came drop shut, no blade play, perfectly tensioned springs, perfectly tuned, razor sharp. I have not got any other knife from Benchmade that came the way that it should from the factory. They're either not sharp, the springs are not broken in, the blade is wiggling, they break in a couple months, you name it, all kinds of stuff. My mini Adamas had a lot of vertical blade play, so the blade might have failed. So very, very, very frustrating when it comes to that. So again, I theoretically would be paying a premium to ensure that every knife that I get from this company is going to be perfect no matter what. And I've got I'm probably like 1 for 10, like a 10%, rate of getting a really, what I would be paying for, what I think I'm paying for from the factory. It drives me crazy when knives don't come, at least paper cutting sharp from the factory. I don't expect it to be a scalpel, but it should come sharp. You're paying, again, almost $300 for a knife. It should come and be able to cut paper and have a decent working edge. And that does not happen a lot of the time. So that's really, really frustrating. The grinds will sometimes be off as well, which is ridiculous. Again, sometimes, again, in the knife community, I get caught up in this too. You forget that you're spending $300 on a knife, and it just kind of becomes like, oh yeah, that's just what I'm paying for a knife. But to people who are not involved in knives, that is absurd. And it really is absurd. It's kind of nice to have that reality check once in a while. If you're paying more than $100 for a pocket knife, it should come absolutely perfect. There's no excuse for it to not come perfect. And plenty of other brands do that. I've never not had a perfect Microtech from the factory. I got this one in my last video, or one of my last videos, from the NC Blade box. And yeah, it failed on camera a bunch of times, and all it took was a little bit of oil. So that's because it's been sitting on the shelf for like it's been over a year now. It's September. So yeah, it's a year and 2 months it sat on the shelf, and all it took was a little bit of oil. And it's still razor sharp. It feels just as snappy as it should. I've never had a bad Microtech. I've never had a Microtech that did not have a razor sharp edge. Every time I get a Microtech, I'm like impressed again with how sharp it is, when I have to remind myself, oh yeah, that's just how every knife should be. It's ridiculous. Same with Spyderco. I've never not had a near perfect Spyderco. If not, most of my Spydercos are perfect, and you'll get the occasional thing wrong with them, but most of them are perfect. So Benchmade, that's not an excuse to not release. At least like 70% of the time I should be getting a perfect knife, or close to perfect. So very, very, very frustrating with that. Again, I want to talk about the customer service as well. Microtech has a lifetime warranty guarantee. Buck has a lifetime warranty guarantee. Tour Knives has a lifetime warranty guarantee. Case Knives, I've used their warranty. SE Knives have a warranty, lifetime warranty. What else do I have sitting here? Tactile Knives have a lifetime warranty. I think that's all that I have sitting here right now. Spyderco, let me reach and grab that. Lifetime warranty. All of these have lifetime warranty. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 companies just that I have sitting right here that all have a lifetime warranty and will fix any problem that you have with the knife. I have had to use Cases and Bucks one time. I've never had to use, and granted, I just got this Tactile, just got this Tour. Those don't count. I've had Spydercos, SEs, and Microtechs for quite some time now, and I've never had to use the warranty. I've never had to take advantage of the warranty. And I probably, frankly, never will. I don't want to jinx it, but probably never will. Especially with SE, there's nothing to really break except the blade. But it's ridiculous to say that a warranty requires that much of a markup on a knife. So really, really, really frustrating. And finally, the ultimate thing that people will say to defend Benchmade and defend the absurd prices. the fact that it is made in the USA. So again, all of those companies that I just put out there, all 7 of them are made in the USA. Not all of them are 100% made in the USA, but Microtech is, I believe Tactile Knives is, Tor is. I know those 3 for sure are. I know Buck majority is, Case majority is. I don't know for sure about Essie, but again, that does not excuse the crazy pricing. Other companies can do it, Benchmade can do it as well. So really it all boils back down to the price, because that is the thing that determines whether or not you're gonna actually buy the knife. And we've just established that really there's no reason to be charging all these prices when Benchmade is kind of either on par or below par when compared to all these other companies. So that ultimately is kind of why Benchmade gets a ton of hate. And as you can see, I have a lot of Benchmades. I really like their knives. They make a decent product. I just wish that they weren't expensive or as expensive. And I wish the people would really kind of hold them accountable. It just seems like people continue to buy them. I have stopped buying Benchmades, but as you can see, again, I have a lot, so I'm guilty of that too. But as I continue to have more and more problems, I've slowly just started exploring other brands. And I've been really, really happy with what I've found. You know, it's not normal to just have knives breaking on you. So probably one of the big reasons that I think that Benchmade still has such a grip over the whole industry is just because when non-knife people who make up a majority of the world go to purchase an expensive knife, and let's say you're wanting to just get a nice knife. Most people will just walk into Cabela's and they'll look in the case or the counter and be like, oh, I see Benchmade, and they're the most expensive one, so they're probably the best knife. And they'll feel one in the store. It'll be really smooth. It'll be more smooth than any knife they've ever opened before. It's got this cool little axis lock mechanism, and they'll buy it. And so that's kind of my theory as to how they're just still continuing to grow even with all these problems. And again, like I said, I own a lot of them, so I'm just as guilty as everybody else. But I think it's time to start moving away from looking at the cool designs, which again I really like, and the cool actions, and acknowledging that there are plenty of better companies out there that make just as nice, if not nicer, of a product for a fraction of the cost. So now you know why some of the people on the internet are constantly just bashing Benchmade. I'm sure I'll get a lot of hate for this, and I'll get a lot of people saying, no, I really agree with you. Let me know what you think. I'll let you kind of decide for yourself whether or not that is warranted, the hate is warranted. You've probably made up your mind already if you're watching this video, especially if you're watching all the way through. So I won't tell you what to think, but I'm just gonna share how I think and how a lot of people think through these issues, and just present the most logical argument either for or against Benchmade. If there's any other things that I didn't address, please feel free to let me know. Again, I'm absolutely open to hearing whatever. I'm not a Benchmade extreme hater. Again, I own a bunch of them. I've started to sell some, but I'm not I'm never buying a Benchmade again, but I'm also not only buy Benchmade. So I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, probably leaning more towards I'm not really a Benchmade fan right now. So hopefully that's helpful. It kind of got me a little fired up here. So I hope, again, you'll let me know what you think. I really appreciate you watching all the way through until the end here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, and enjoy the rest of your day, and stay tuned for the next video.